Are you sure you haven't been eating these nuts all wrong? You may be putting your heart at risk without even knowing it. And if you're a senior over 60, you definitely don't want to miss this information. Today, I will talk about the 3 nuts that you should never eat. The truth is that not all nuts are good for your heart. In fact, some of them can be very harmful, especially if you already have some heart problems or risk factors, like high blood pressure, high blood sugar, or high cholesterol. But don't worry, I'm going to tell you which ones you should avoid and why. Hi, I'm a doctor. I'm an expert in helping people over 60 to get healthy, stay healthy, and live a life they love. If that's you, please follow along because I have some important information for you today. The first dangerous nut we need to talk about is pistachio. Why would this delicious and popular nut be considered bad for your heart? Well, it comes down to its nutritional profile. Pistachios are high in saturated fat. Now, saturated fat has gotten a bad reputation in recent years, but the truth is that we need some of it in our diet. It helps us absorb certain vitamins, and it can actually help lower inflammation in our body when we consume it in the right amounts. The problem is that pistachios contain more than 10 grams of saturated fat per ounce. That's almost half of the recommended daily intake for saturated fat for men. For women, it's more like a third of their recommended daily intake. So if you're already consuming a lot of other high saturated fat foods, adding pistachios to the mix might be too much. It could raise your total saturated fat intake above the recommended levels. This can lead to clogged arteries, especially if you also have risk factors like diabetes or high cholesterol. Clogged arteries increase the risk of heart disease and heart attacks, so you definitely want to be careful with pistachios. Another concern with pistachios is their sodium content. A 1-ounce serving of pistachios contains around 270 milligrams of sodium. While that's not a huge amount, it's still significant. As we age, especially over 60, our bodies become less efficient at getting rid of sodium. This means that consuming a lot of high sodium foods, like pistachios, can lead to water retention and increased blood pressure. High blood pressure puts extra strain on the arteries in the heart, which can contribute to heart disease and heart attacks. It's important to remember that it's not the sodium in pistachios itself that's the problem, but rather how much sodium you're getting from all the foods you eat combined. If you already have high blood pressure or you're at risk for it, you need to be mindful of the sodium content of the pistachios and other salty snacks you eat. Now, this doesn't mean you should completely avoid pistachios. They can be part of a healthy diet when consumed in moderation. Just make sure you're also watching your intake of other high-fat and high-sodium foods. Next up on our list of dangerous nuts is macadamia nut. Macadamia nuts are known for being one of the most calorie-dense foods out there. Just 1 ounce of these nuts contains over 400 calories. What makes them so calorie-dense is their high fat content. 1 ounce of macadamia nut contains over 22 grams of fat. Now, again, fat isn't the enemy, but it is important to be mindful of how many calories you're taking in. Macadamia nuts are usually eaten as a snack or used in recipes that do and burn off those extra calories. Over time, consuming too many calories can lead to weight gain and obesity. Being overweight or obese increases the risk of developing heart disease, high blood pressure, and type 2 diabetes, all of which are risk factors for heart attacks and strokes. Plus, macadamia nuts are high in saturated fat. As I mentioned before, we need some saturated fat in our diet, but too much of it can lead to clogged arteries and increase the risk of heart disease. So it's important to watch how many macadamia nuts you're eating. Keep your portions in check and choose other lower calorie, lower fat nuts like almonds or walnuts. Also, keep in mind that macadamia nuts are high in monounsaturated fats. Monounsaturated fats are generally considered good for the heart and can help reduce bad cholesterol levels. However, if you're already consuming other high monounsaturated fat foods like avocados or olive oil, you want to be careful about adding more macadamia nuts to the mix. Too much of any type of fat, including the good kind, can lead to weight gain and other health problems. Finally, let's talk about Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts are often touted as a superfood because they're packed with nutrients like vitamin E, magnesium, and fiber, but they also contain a high amount of saturated fat. One Brazil nut contains around 9 grams of fat. That may not sound like a lot, but keep in mind that a typical serving size is 3 to 4 Brazil nuts, so you're looking at around 27 grams of fat per serving. Brazil nuts are also high in calories, with one serving containing around 200 calories. This can be a problem if you're really not careful, because they're often eaten as a snack without realizing how many calories you're consuming. Just like with macadamia nuts, consuming too many calories can lead to weight gain and other health problems. And because Brazil nuts are high in saturated fat, they can also contribute to clogged arteries and heart disease if you're already at risk. Another concern with Brazil nuts is their selenium content. Selenium is an important mineral, but too much of it can be toxic. One Brazil nut contains around 98 micrograms of selenium, which is already more than the recommended daily intake for adults. Eating more than 4 Brazil nuts a day can easily lead to selenium toxicity, which can cause hair loss, nail changes, tremors, and other serious problems. Now, I want to be clear that I'm not saying you should never eat pistachio, macadamia, or Brazil nuts. These nuts offer unique and beneficial nutrients that can be part of a healthy diet, but it's important to be mindful of how much you're eating. If you're over 60 or have risk factors for heart disease like high blood pressure or diabetes, you especially want to watch your intake of these nuts. They're high in calories, saturated fat, and other compounds that can be harmful to your heart if you eat too much. Instead, focus on consuming nuts that are lower in calories and saturated fat, such as almonds, walnuts, and cashews. These nuts offer similar benefits without the potential risks. As we age, it's natural to experience some changes in our bodies. Our metabolism slows down, our muscle mass decreases, and our bones become more fragile. But just because something is normal doesn't mean we have to accept it. We have the power to take control of our health and well-being at any age. If you've enjoyed this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up for more videos like this. Also, please share it with your friends and family so they, too, can learn about the importance of healthy eating habits. Remember, knowledge is power and sharing it can change lives. Thank you for watching. I wish you great health, wealth, and happiness.